Welcome to this very first and hopefully last virtual edition of the Ottawa REDBLACKS Coaches Roundtable for Grey Cup Unite Week. Wish we were all together here, fellas, watching some actual playoff football, but we're not. So next best thing, figured we'd gather some people who have been there, been all the way, know how this works, know how you become a champion in the CFL. So quick introductions. We've got REDBLACKS head coach Paul LaPolice, two-time Grey Cup winner, most recently last year with the Blue Bombers. Special teams coordinator Bob Dyce, another two-time winner, and of course, most recently in 2016 with us here in Ottawa with the REDBLACKS. And rounding out our group, we've got our defensive coordinator Mike Benevides, three-time Grey Cup winner, and to chat about that. So I know, Benny, maybe we'll get it started this way because you demanded when I asked you if we could have this conversation that you wanted to spend the entire time talking about the 2011 Grey Cup. I don't know how Lapo's going to feel about that, but maybe we'll get to that in a little bit, but maybe just start with where everyone's calling in from, starting with you, Mike. Where are you joining us from today?
Yeah, calling you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is home when we moved here in 03, and we're all home staying safe, and hopefully everybody's doing the same, but I'm here in Vancouver.
And Bob, where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from sunny Winnipeg, Manitoba. Same thing as Benny, just locked down here in Winnipeg, trying to be as vigilant as possible and taking care of things going forward.
Could be worse. Could be in some parts of Saskatchewan right now where they got like 40 centimeters of snow recently, and we're still enjoying the sun a little bit.
You're exactly right.
And Paul, you've been here in Ottawa. How are things going? Just being at home with the family.
Well, it's 70 degrees today, so that's pretty amazing this time of year. So no, really good. Yeah, it's been good.
So let's start with you, Paul, as the head coach. Just, talk about the Grey Cup kind of generally, maybe to start with. How hard is this trophy to win, this championship to win? People that like to, chirp the CFL, talk about, there's only, so many teams, 9 teams compared to other sports, but this cup, man, it's like, it's still an elusive, magical trophy. What's been your experience with it?
Yeah, I think you hear all the time of a player who wins a Grey Cup in his first season or goes to the Grey Cup in their first year. Andrew Harris is an example of that. He won in 2011 with Benny, and he didn't win it again until 2020. So, they're difficult to win. Winning playoff games is difficult. Getting, you certainly can get to East and West finals, but then making it to the Grey Cup and then finally winning the football game, it's quite an accomplishment. And I've been fortunate enough to play in now 4 of them, but that's over a course of 20 years, right? And certainly somebody can go on a run and go to a bunch of them if you've got the right team, the right quarterback, and all those type of things. So, but it's it's sometimes an elusive thing. And it's funny, Bob and I talk, and Bob, you've kind of jumped a couple of other places and you end up getting into the Grey Cups. You've been very fortunate, some of the places you've left and gone to.
Oh, you're exactly right.
Or maybe it's you just left Winnipeg.
Well, it's funny. In 2009, actually, when you became the head coach of Winnipeg, and I guess 2010, you became head coach of Winnipeg, and I left and I went to Saskatchewan. Jumped in right there that year. We went to the Grey Cup, lost that year, and then when I came to Ottawa in 2016, both those teams I think have been in the Grey Cup the year before, and then in 2016 I came after Ottawa. I'd lost to Edmonton in 15, and then we were able to win it in 16. So. You're right. Been lucky in that regards. Just like exactly what Chris is asking. I mean, I've been in 5 now in 19 years, won 2, and it's an extremely difficult thing. For me, I didn't win my first one until I think my 11th year in the league. So you keep slugging. Like I said, I had been 2 up until that point. Lost 1 to you, and when I Winnipeg, and lost another one that year, 2010. And you really feel, oh heck, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to do it. I mean, you look at, again, Milt Stiegel, one of the guys I coached in Winnipeg, had a phenomenal career and just never got the opportunity to win it. So it's a very difficult thing. Things really have to line up right for you to be able to capture a Grey Cup victory.
What about you, Benny? What's your numbers?
Been to 4, fortunate to win 3. And, kind of the discussion about earlier on in my second year, we're able to go to the Grey Cup. And that's one of those, you always ask about memories and things like that. And, just the difference of rings. So we were talking about rings earlier on. So this is the first ring. And then this is the second ring in 06 with BC. But look at the difference. These things are just getting huge, right? All of a sudden they get like humongous, right? So these are kind of trophies that you're really excited about. But been to 4. See, there you go. I mean, these are so miraculous. And you hear players talking about it all the time. I mean, it's the memories and those rings that really stand, because the money doesn't stand the test of time. But long story short, 3. And my first one was in the second year, and I was thrilled to be in it. And I was just beside myself. And one of the stories I talk about is there was always over 65,000 people in the Big O, right? And we are communicating on the headsets. And as you folks know, coaches got headsets on, and I'm speaking to the box, and we are literally screaming at the top of our lungs in the microphone, and nobody could hear each other. It was electric with over 65,000 people there. We beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Coach Richie, coach team, which was the best team in the league. And we got there at 8-10. In order to get to the playoffs, we had to win our last 5 games in a row in the regular season just to get in there. And then we had to go play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in week 18 just to get in, and we beat them, and then we go on a run. So it's extremely difficult. It's tough, but it's magical when you do it. But it's the ones that you lose that hurt. Like 2004, we lose against the Toronto Argonauts in Ottawa, actually, and those stick out.
Yeah. Like I think about 07, Bob, like I'm trying to think about stories. I know Hoff asked us to think about stories. So in 2007, the entire coaching staff, and it's something that, we continue to do to this day if possible, like the team goes out, right? And then if we have to fly, because back then we didn't charter as much. So the team went on an earlier flight. The coaches went on the last flight of the day so we could get all our work done. And so we tried to do that out of Regina, and then there was like a delay. So like we didn't get in, we ended up we were supposed to go on an earlier flight, but thank God we make sure there was a flight after that, because we had mechanical trouble. So our flight got canceled. So we ended up taking the last flight out of Regina. So we did not get to, I swear to God, I think we got to the hotel at 2 a.m. and I still had to print reports. So I'm down in the bed, I'm in the hotel downstairs printing them all out, and I just got no sleep that first night. And then, but then you gotta, when it happens, you gotta go. That was a crazy time.
It's like my first experience in 2001. I was just talking about we fly. So we're in British Columbia, and you guys know you fly on the Tuesday, and then who practices first, who practices second. And we have first practice after flying from the West Coast all the way to Montreal. So that night's a mad scrabble. One of the memories I have that I tell people all the time is, the older you get, the more you understand you got to appreciate it. But at that time, I'm just trying to get work done and be a good soldier. And at the end of the week, I think about it. And it's reality. I really didn't eat that week. You know what I had that week? Once when they put a sub in your locker after practice, I had, the brunch that we had at the media conference. And then we had a big meal on Saturday. But other than that, I just walked around like, I don't think I ate. I really didn't eat other than those 3 times, because it's just a mad dash. There's so much to do, right? So much to do in that short week.
Bobby, when you go to 07, let's talk 07 for a little bit. Winnipeg, Sask.
Winnipeg Sask. I'm sure. Well, obviously, like for us, it was a interesting situation. Obviously, Winnipeg hadn't been in a Grey Cup in a long time, and if you remember the Eastern Final that year, we had gone through. We went out to Toronto and played them. I mean, even before that, when we talk about the difficulty of getting there, we had Montreal in Winnipeg, and they had an opportunity to steal the game by converting a third down. And right. Greg Marshall, our defensive coordinator, and our defensive players stopped them on that third down drive, and we were able to move the ball a little bit on offense and kick a field goal to win. So, one of the things that I always think about during these runs is, again, how difficult it is. Then we had to go into Toronto, and we go in there and managed to play a pretty good game. We've got the game sealed up. I'll always remember the play call. We got inside zone. called to Charlie Roberts, and we're in a timeout, and Kevin says, what do I do if it's cover zero? We said, just give it. It doesn't make a difference. We'll just kick a field goal and we'll be fine. Well, go down, run the play, hand it off, and the ball pops out. Kevin sticks his arm in and arm out and breaks the bone. So we're going into the Grey Cup in 2007 with Ryan Dinwiddie, who's a great quarterback in his own, but had never started a CFL game. And so that
2 NFL head coaches, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you think of our backups, Cliff Kingsbury, and who's the head coach of Arizona now is our backup, and Zach Taylor, who's the head coach of Cincinnati, is our third string quarterback. And so we've got a really inexperienced group there. But so going through that whole week, as you guys, or Paul, offensively, you just want to find things that Ryan's going to be comfortable with. And so it kind of changed our prep up a little bit, but, coaches got Ryan ready. Ryan went out and, played a good game, just wasn't, as a team, we just weren't able to match you guys, and you guys ended up taking it in the air, but in the end. So the week of prep was a little bit different because you're sitting down and spending more time because you're playing with a guy who you're a little bit less comfortable with in the fact that maybe your idea of plays and what suits him, you got to make sure that you're locked in. And but that was, again, my first Grey Cup. Betty talks about being in an experience, 65,000 in their dome. I remember being 55 in Sky Dome and the place being just packed up. It was a phenomenal experience. Tons of Rider fans there, but it was still a phenomenal experience that I'll never forget, even though we lost that game in 2007.
Yeah, you're right. The Rogers Center, Sky Dome, whatever you want to call it. Spending time with the Argos early in my career, we had seen 30,000 people in a stadium there, 35, and that was a rocking environment. I always loved that building, but walking out for pregame and the, centers and quarterbacks and the QBs going out, and there is in the building 50,000 at that point, or 45,000. Yeah. It was crazy to see every seat in that place locked down. And thoughts from that week, if I have any other, I don't think there's anything crazy from a story standpoint. I do remember my first one, like Benny said, is like, I didn't go to the awards. I remember telling Kerry Joseph, hey, I'm with you, but I got so much work to do. I remember just all about just trying to get the work done throughout the course of the week to be ready. And I wasn't even a play caller at that time, but just there's just so many things that we needed to get done. And, then certainly going through the week, I'll never forget this at the end. So Richie Hall's only at this point maybe won one Grey Cup. And I remember Richie kind of yelling at me because him and I were upstairs in the box. So let's go. We got to get down. You want to be out on the field, right? We wanted to get down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I remember I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going, Richie. Right. And we humped it down to be on the field at the end of the game. So that was a pretty cool memory.
You talk about the injury to Kevin, the unfortunate injury. I remember being in the dome because we're getting ready to play our game, and we're watching that occur on the other side. We're thinking, when that happens, right, your mindset goes, oh, they got to go to their backup. If we could just get there, we got a great chance, man. Look at this, we got a great chance, and we couldn't get out of that Western final. It's just the opportunities are so hard, and people always talk about getting through the Western or the Eastern final being so epic. Been to a whole bunch of those, not made it through. It's just such a challenge. But I remember watching and I go, oh man, okay, we got a chance. And it was unfortunate to see that happen.
You guys summed it up so well there, like in terms of why it's so difficult. You're talking about like distractions, especially once you get to Grey Cup week, the travel hiccups and the issues that are like, they're so unique to the CFL. Just everything that bigger, more expensive, richer leagues have that you have to kind of work around. How do you manage? You're managing people. You're managing when you get to Grey Cup week. You got to make sure the guys are focused and in the right place. You're talking about Paul as a head coach. Now if we're in Grey Cup, you're getting pulled into 17 different things. There's media obligations. There's all of that stuff. How do you do it? What's the secret? Because that seems to be the team that wins is the ones that got that part locked down the most.
Well, there's no getting away with. You're going to have some more media. Obviously, it's a much bigger deal. It's talked about everywhere. You're just trying to get the players to do as much as they can before you travel. right? You try to say, get all your tickets taken care of, get all your family arrangements, get all that stuff done. So then you can kind of get to a place where you can continue to try to give your football time. And then you try to make it as normal a week as possible. And then usually on Saturday, that's, a normal day before the game with your family, right? They're just at a different location. So yeah, there's no getting around the awards. There's no getting around all the extra attention and all that stuff, but it's just trying to keep your processes the same it's been. The one thing I think some people can hurt themselves if they get away from what they've done all season long with their prep when they go.
And Bob, do you remember that in 2016 where, it was all about the stamps. It was all about, they're winning all the awards, all that attention. And that ultimately for us, I think, turned out to be an advantage. There was a little bit of that, no one giving you a chance and you're just going to go in, kind of fly under the radar a little bit more.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been on both sides of it. In 13, when I was in Saskatchewan, we were the team that won a lot of the awards and had some success in that regards. And I remember thinking, oh boy, this is how's this going to affect Hamilton? They may be a little bit, they're already playing in our park, and this is just going to jack them up more. And then when it actually came to it at the end of the day, we went out and handled our business fairly convincingly that day. I do remember 16. Paul talked about it. Is what you're trying to do is keep things as normal as you can and eliminate distraction. I mean, all three of us know as coaches, you're always trying to eliminate those things. And I think what it comes down to as well is not just us as coaches, but your organization putting you in a position to be successful. The more that they can do once that game, we've focused on talking about a lot about coaches, but as soon as you win that game, all the people behind the scenes have to start working in the planning of the hotels and things like that. And the more comfortable that they make you going into that week, and the more they make it your ability to keep that week more like a normal week. When I think to 13, we were at home in Saskatchewan, and that really helped. And we really did a lot of the things other than our meetings in the hotel rooms. Things were very similar. 16, when we were in Toronto with Ottawa, things really went smooth. Coach Campbell did a great job of really keeping the guys relaxed and really keeping it like a normal week. We didn't really pay attention to the fact. I mean, we didn't see ourselves as underdogs. So while everybody on the outside may have been saying that, we never saw ourselves that way. Really, Coach kept it, like I said, very normal and very similar to a regular week. And I think that's really important that you don't get. I mean, football, we all know, the three of us here, is a lot of routine in what we do. And the closer you could keep that and block out the distractions, the greater chance you're going to have for success. And I think that's what we were able to do in 2016.
Benny, anything to add? You got?
Yeah, but there's no doubt what you guys were talking about. Lapo, you started with it, and Bob just alluded to it. As you do this longer and longer, you learn some lessons. And we went to play the Grey Cup, as I said, in 2004 in Ottawa when I was with the Lions. And we go over there, and we're about making sure we're disciplined, organized, detailed, dress code, curfews every night, all those type of details, because we want to make sure we make things as sterile as we can for the players. So first night we're there, I'm walking up to my room. I walk down the hall, and I run into Brent Johnson, and obviously he's had a meal and a few drinks. And he's like, Coach, why are we doing this? Why can't we just have some fun? We just got here. And so that was the first thing that kind of, hit me as a story. And then later on, we're coming in our suits, and here comes Pinball's Argonauts down the escalator of the airport, all in civvies, relaxed jeans, whatever. And the lesson we learned from that after we lost, and we came back, we talked about it as a staff, and I can remember talking to Wally about it one-on-one about it, was let's just keep things normal. Let's be loose. Let's enjoy it. Let's make sure it's about people, as Bob and Paul said, in routine, but it's about the players, making sure that those people are as comfortable as possible. And so the lesson learned there is, make it as loose and as normal as possible. If you travel somewhere, you don't have curfew every night. So why all of a sudden do we change curfew all the time, right? So things like that, huge lessons. And then when we came back 2 years later to the Grey Cup, we were loose as a goose. And I can't ever think of being more confident on a walkthrough the day before. There was no issue, and there was no doubt in my mind we were going to win that game. So live and learn, make it normal, and let the guys enjoy it.
I'll say a story and let's let it trigger you guys something about one of your Grey Cup experiences. I just remember first time as a coordinator was 09, the 09 season, the Riders playing Montreal. And it was kind of weird because I believe it was my 20th high school, it was my 20th year high school reunion. So what was funny is all my buddies were like, "Oh, you coming home?" And I'm like, "No." And thank God, and leading up to that, all of the friends were like, "Hey, you're going to be home for Thanksgiving. You're going to be, and obviously Thanksgiving used to fall right on Grey Cup week. And I was like, I hope I don't see you guys, right? That means I'm pretty busy. And I just have a remembrance of being like day 2, it's like 9:30 at night, and I'm in, I'm in the hotel meeting room and it's just me doing some last thoughts on what we're going to do in the third down game plan, and just being pretty proud of that, or just, like loving that opportunity, going, there's only 2 people left doing what we're doing, right? As coordinators, there's only one other OC trying to plan what to do and what to attack. And those are certainly times I really enjoy that process of like, I'm ready, let's go, bring it on, right? I'm ready to call a game, let's go. But I can have a vivid memory of being in my 2009 meeting room. I used to always have a candle when I did the game plan day. My candle made in the time with me, it was lit up in the hotel room, probably illegal, but like thing. And a guy in the Nashua hometown newspaper called to do an article on me, and that's what I had said to him. I said, "Yeah, this weekend is my 20-year reunion, but thank God I'm not there." Right? Like it's pretty cool to be here. Anything like that, Dyce, or in your experiences, or anybody about you want to say?
It's the one thing I say. It's funny, we sit here and we focus on the Grey Cup, and a lot of times when I think of back against my Grey Cup, especially obviously the 2 I won, I think of individual performances by players. It always seems like there's always something special that happens. I think of 2016, obviously, leading up to it in the East Final with Keenan LaFrance coming in, playing the snow game versus Edmonton. And, a lot of people thinking, most go down, what are they going to do? And then he comes in and rushes, I don't know, he had 25 carries for 147 yards or something like that. And just seeing him and the rest of the guys step up in a challenging situation and carry their weight, that always stands for me. I think, and it might be against you, Benny, I think of in 2013, Darian's performance at the end of the third quarter.
You just had to bring up 2 games here. I think we're going to break for drinks. It's over right now. You bring 2 games, but you're right. You know what you were saying.
Darian's performance in that that Western final.
Last 2.5 minutes. There's 2 minutes.
Were dominating us, and he really, with his legs and then his arms, he just really put, as they say, I hate to say, but he did. He put the team on his back and went out there and really dominated and propelled us to that Grey Cup. It's those sort of things that always stand out to me. And then even winning in 16, Hank's performance in the Grey Cup. Those to see a guy come in and a lot of people say, I'm not sure he was all that hurt. I can guarantee you, we were ready to go.
Do you remember? Do you remember the tension in that room, Bob? Like in the locker room before that game, where like I think I laughed at Marcel because he came over at one point and said, "Well, I don't think Hank's going to be able to go," and I thought he was kidding because it sounded so like. Then you see his face and go, oh no, he's not kidding.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And obviously I'm on the field in warm up and I'm realizing he's not taking any reps, right? So I know something is really wrong. So when we went in for the break before you come out and the teams get announced, and you're exactly right. It's extremely tense. I mean, obviously we were, Marcel had done a good job, and we had Trevor Harris in the bullpen, and had great confidence in him that he was going to go in and start. But yeah, I remember the feeling, and you're sitting there in the coach's room and you're looking at each other. And like I said, we had confidence in Trevor, but Hank was the guy who brought us there. And then to be out there, and then all of a sudden, 2 minutes before the game, 3 minutes before the game, 2 minutes before the game, 3 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 boom, to see him running out of the tunnel and come out and play. It's those types of performances and having the game of his life in that situation are things that are always gonna stick with you. Like Benny said, you know, probably think more of the losses at times than you do of the wins. But when I think of the victories, it's those performances by players just rising to the occasion that
Cory
really
Shoots,
stick
Cory
out in my mind.
13.
Oh yeah, Cory Shoots in the Grey Cup game, he had phenomenal. Obviously, set the rushing record in that game. You know, both Darian and himself just were dominant in that game. Like I said, it was the Eastern final really that I think of in that year. You know, Benny talked, or I think it was you, Paul, who talked about 07 in Toronto. I mean, even though we're in Toronto, it was obviously Winnipeg was part of the East. The number of fans who traveled to that game from Saskatchewan was just ridiculous. And why I bring that up is in 13 when we hosted the Grey Cup and Hamilton came out. I mean, you never know the outcome of a game, but and you know, normally when you're in a Grey Cup, you're just sitting there. But when we came out for warm-ups and the crowd erupted, I knew Hamilton was going to have a hard time that day, and they started off hotter. But at that point, I think it was 47,000 we had in there. You talk about the 13th man. That was something else. And so yeah, so I think of a lot of in my memories. I just think of certain players and teams who've you know, just the performances they put out. And you know, in that 16 year that Chris talks about, it was Hank had that phenomenal performance, but that was the performance of the year for the team as well. You know, like he did say it, people on the outside really saw Calgary as the top dog that day, but we had played them tight both times all year. We tied one, lost once, and so we didn't think they were anything that special. And phenomenal team, but we certainly were confident that come Grey Cup time we could take care of business.
Benny, you got anything? General big stories or anything? Or
I mean, like kind of dovetailing on what Bob said, there's always memories, right? In Montreal, we have no business as an 8-10 team against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who were the best, by far the best team. I mean, you think about Charles Roberts, Milt Stegall, you think about Jerron Bolden, just that team was stacked. And we're in 10, we had no business, but we played great defense. Our offense made some plays, but it came down to a single play, a blocked punt by Aldi Henry to win the game. You know, so those things put you over. I think about the 2006 Grey Cup. We're playing in Winnipeg against the Montreal Alouettes, and at that point, we were really strong in our division. They were strong in their division, and you know, we win, giving up 14 points. But they had the ball on the 2-yard line to win the game, and we come up with a big play. It wasn't what we called. It was players making plays. Javi Glatt, Otis Floyd, Carl Kidd making plays, and so you think of those type of things that happen. You think about our game, Paul, 2011, the play that never occurred. I mean, we have a screen pass. If Odell, you know, catches it, you know, there's a whole different game. You just think of all these plays. As much as we work our tail off to get there, it's really about the players and what they're able to do. And certainly behind the scenes, whole organization is in it. But, you know, if you think of games, those plays flash up, and that's what makes the game so great. You just never know who's going to win it, and it's tough to get there and tough to win. But when you do, baby, it's sweet. When you do, it's sweet.
I would say this on Bob's point. I think people don't have this understanding is, you know, like nobody goes, oh, well, you know, nobody makes the Grey Cup from the East or the West and goes, oh, we're going to get our butt kicked. You know, like because I can recall the 2019 season, Montreal's 15-3. They lead every offensive category and like number one in every defensive category. We're 10-7-1 at the Riders or 10. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, Montreal's going to whoop them. And we had lost to them both games. We're 0-2 when we played them. Both times we turned the ball over a ton. But I can tell you, our team in 09 were like, no doubt in our mind, we were going to dominate this team. And we were going to put ourselves in a position to win the football game. And that's certainly what happened for all the way up to 1 second left in the game. You know, we didn't handle our business, but like we had a huge lead at halftime, and like everyone, and I'll never forget this because I'm going up the stairs and I see Kevin McDonald from the league office, and he's like, holy crap, nobody expected this, right? Or whatever. And he's like, good job. And I don't really want to have a conversation. I'm just trying to get back up to the coaching box. Well, sure enough, 2 seasons ago or whatever, last year you want to call it, Winnipeg, same facility, same locker room at halftime, same huge lead. We're playing a 15-3 team, leads the league and everything. Nobody picks us to win. We come out and dominate. Now I'm going up at halftime like, I don't want to talk to a soul, right? Because I know what has happened in 2009. And I'm just going up, we're going to coach the game all the way till the very end to make sure we handle, cross our I's and T's and again go. It's interesting that, you throw out the records, throw out all that stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Point. A cool thing from 2009 that I took from Coach Miller, who's one of the best. I know Bob worked with him and I did. Is from my family, my oldest brother came up with his son. His son was probably 10 or 12 years old at the time. And Coach Miller's son had come up, who's a high school baseball coach or a college baseball coach in California. And it was the day before practice. And I remember we were focused, we were ready, and it was kind of snowy. We were outdoors and we were going to the practice. And I asked Coach Miller, and some head coaches you couldn't ask this question to. I go, Coach Miller, can my brother and his son come on the bus to us to practice? And he's like, sure, my son's coming, put him on. That's great. He's just such a Superman. And it was pretty cool. So we're doing our walkthrough, doing our normal day before stuff. And my brother's over there on the sideline taking pictures of his son on the field. And then after we got pictures, they were running around and I was playing catch with my nephew. And what I never forgot that moment. And it just brought about how much family atmosphere it is. And the coolest, it didn't help us in the win. Benny still beat our butts, but in 2011, I made that a whole team thing. So it was pretty cool. BC Place allowed us to do this. And I know I spoke this on a talk before, but we basically told all the parents to meet us in our hotel the day before the game. So they all showed up. Our 2 buses took the team down for practice. And then we had worked it out with BC Place. They were very good. The buses came back, picked up all the parents, and all the parents were able to go down, sit in the stands and take pictures of their kids and just or husbands and wives, or take by their husbands, and just had a good experience of all the people could get together and just kind of sit and watch, because the day of the game's crazy and nuts trying to get there and everything. So it was really an awesome thing. And I know that's when Tina handed out a letter, and I'll give him credit. I can't remember his name. Our old Tom Higgins told me about this, and I don't totally copied it. Tina handed out a note to every significant other, every parent, and they wrote a note to their significant other, to the players in the field, and Brad taped them up. So when the players showed up, they got a nice letter from their family talking about how proud they were.
That's awesome.
I love the family aspect of the Saturday of the Grey Cup, when everybody gets together.
You're exactly right, Paul, because some of the great memories I think of all the Grey Cups. My 2007, when you guys beat us, Ava was, I think, 7 months. That was she was in Toronto for that Grey Cup. We had the whole family there, and like you said, it's the Saturday before the game. I can remember every one
Peyton
of our
was there too. That's funny because Peyton went. Yeah, she's 6 months there, 7 months too. Yeah, and every dinner that we had before the 5, and over the years it was different. I feel blessed that every one of my family members has been able to make it. Brooklyn was away in college, and still able to get her up to Edmonton in 10 and 13 or 10 and to travel up to that game. Tristan, he's been able to stand on the sidelines for a couple games when I was in Saskatchewan, because awesome. He used to work with the equipment staff. And to be able to share that. And from 2010, we've got some great pictures of the day before practice of just the 2 of us together on the field.
Well, I know Bob in Winnipeg. You brought Ava down on the field once for the national anthem. She runs out with the guys, and I remember I had to go on a 10-minute hike to get her back to her mom in that stadium, because I couldn't figure out how to get her off.
Whoa! What was that? What was that?
No, that was it was actually in Saskatchewan, if we remember.
Oh, it was in Sask. Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It was in Sask. Yeah, the family had drove to see me in Saskatchewan, and Rick and Coach Campbell had seen them earlier, and that year we had a little theme of children bringing out the flag or leading the team out with the flag. And he asked if Ava wanted to do it. And that was the first year in Saskatchewan's new stadium. And so, yeah, so she led the team
That's
out
awesome.
and she ran with the flag. And then, yeah, Chris is exactly right. In that new stadium, trying to
New
find
stadium.
get her back to Amanda and the rest of the family. But yeah, it's those family memories that you can have and share, you know, because we go through that season and we see them so little. To be able to spend that time at such an important time with them is just phenomenal. I know they certainly didn't want to be around me on the 3 losses when I've lost, but to share those sorts of things with them is just really priceless.
Yeah,
You know,
like my
the
brother.
family.
Yeah.
Go
My
ahead.
brother-in-law was so drunk after the 07 when, like, he's had a bunch of beers. Loved Andy Fantus, Tyler, you know, and there's pictures of him hugging Andy Fantus. He had a man crush on Fantus and celebrating a win. Benny, what do you got for story about families?
Oh, yeah, you know, families, you know, I learned this early on, and it's really true. They win and they lose with you, right? Because they feel it. Even if they weren't on the field, like Bob says, they feel it when you lose because they feel for you. You know, many a time my daughters were still really small, and I would catch them crying. They're trying to be tough for you, but they're crying behind closed doors because they feel bad for it. But one of my best ones, because family, mom and dad are immigrants, right? They've never been around sports. They've worked their tail off their whole lives. Even when I played collegiately, I was in California. They never really came to games or anything. They came to one game that I played collegiate or high school wise, and that was the All-Star game my senior year. But anyways, so we're in Montreal. They come out. It's my first Grey Cup. Judy's there. And kind of chaperones them. They're sitting in the big old loud as crazy. My mother can't stand noise. So we end up winning. So guess what? They get to come into the locker room. So I got mom and dad in the locker room with champagne flying, noise everywhere, people drinking. And my mom's looking around going, what is this? Half of these men are naked. She's never been around these dudes. So she's like, what? And then dad is having the time of his life drinking. Guys are smoking cigars. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's just one of the best moments that I recall. I want to do it again with the Red Blacks. But one of the stories that comes out of there, we ran out of beer. My dad will not let me down. He goes, hey, next time I go, you guys can't run out of beer. So that was just a moment it's something they never experienced in their lives. They're in the locker room, champagne everywhere, everybody's getting soaked. And it's just an experience that's so unlike anything that they've experienced in their lives, but they're there sharing in the moment we had. And it was pretty cool, and we got to do it again. But, you know, it's huge. And then on the flip side of it, though, in 2011, playing this guy right here. So fortunately, we win, right, in 2011, but we gave up 24 points. So, you know, the score had been in such a way that in the last 3 played differently, and Paul was able to put up a couple majors to put up 24 on the board, right? So he puts up 24, we win the Grey Cup, and God's honest truth, I was not happy about giving up those points, and I was still bitter. And I remember I was on the other side. Everybody's going crazy, and I'm happy, and I'm happy for the players, but I'm still simmering. And God's honest truth, when the girls came down in the field, and Judy will always tell me this, I was not thrilled over the sky that they were there. I was kind of happy, but, you know, it was kind of reserved. So she reminds me of that all the time. God's honest truth. And I did not calm down until, you know, you go back to the hotel and you have a celebration and the organization puts up a party. I did not simmer down and come out of it till we took a picture with the Grey Cup. So you talk about, you know, competitive juices firing, you know, all excited. But that's one side of it with my parents in there, and the other side with Judy going, hey, next time we come down there, I'm not coming down there unless you're really excited to see us. So there's that.
Couple of play calling questions I'll ask you guys, because I'll tell you this and then see if it triggers anything for you guys. So in the 09 Grey Cup, obviously, you know, the horrible 13th man penalty and all that stuff. You know, we had moved the ball so well in the first half and even in the third quarter, but we turned the ball over twice in the second half. One of them was we scrambled. Andy went deep and then turned it down, and our normal scramble was stay deep, and Darian ended up throwing it to him, and Andrew stopped, and it was a pick. So, you know, it was we kind of didn't handle the second half of the game very well, right? And it's something I certainly think I've learned from going forward in other games. But late in the game, and I want to, against the best defense, I think we were in a really good zone, calling the game and everything. I felt I was on top of them. I swear to God, there was only one time I asked an opinion. Like normally I would just call the game, and then it was like 1st and 10, the last drive where we had to stay on the field, and had one of two calls. We were going to do a naked boot and have a throw to Getzlaff, or we were going to run the ball. And we had run the ball so well against them all game, and it was the only time I opened my mouth. And and I mentioned, hey, should I run inside zone or should I run zone naked, basically in simplest terms. And Coach Miller's like, how about inside zone? And I'm like, okay. And it just kills me to this day that I really wanted to call the naked, but I should just kept my mouth shut because the naked was wide open, right? Like you look at it, you're like, oh, they blitzed the same. There would have been nobody on Getzlaff and we would have won the game. And I just go, like, why did I even open my mouth? I should have just kept my mouth shut and let it go and just keep playing, right? But I do like in those games, that's when call whatever you got, man. Fire all the bullets you got, man. Like whatever special plays, whatever you want to do, we'll leave them all on the field. Anything like that, Dice, about play calling?
No, really not. I can't say anything similar to that play calling, and because pretty much every Grey Cup I've pretty much called a perfect game. So,
hey, Bob, on that front, walk us through the most terrifying moment in 2016 where I really thought like, oh my God, did we just lose this thing? Was when Brad's arm got yanked on the onside kick. And he dropped that ball. Yeah. And Brad never drops balls.
Again, so first off, let's say this, that in that situation, that certainly was not Brad's fault. What I can tell you exactly what leading up to that is, Moulton Hopkins, if you remember, but at the end of the game, he wasn't in the game, and we had to make a substitution on the hands team, and we have a base rule that something's done, and we talk about it right on the sidelines there. But for whatever happened, the player who was put in for Moulton broke one of the rules, and that allowed the player should have never gotten close to Brad, like you said, Brad doesn't drop the ball, so that player should have never been anywhere close to him. And that's more so what happened. And so at the end of the day, those are all things that are going to happen in the course of a game. And if anything, that could have been more on me than certainly than on Brad.
Benny, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's one every single game. Like you said, Lapo, everything's at stake. So you adjust, you do whatever you need to win. In a 2004 Grey Cup there in Ottawa against the Argonauts, and we were with the BC Lions, they ended up going a lot of what people may not understand, but they 23 formation. So they went to an odd formation, and we had Carl Kidd, who was a big hybrid kind of linebacker, and he continually got isolated in the first half. And in the halftime, he was almost in tears because we had to adjust to that because we weren't doing a good enough job on that, and that hurt us early on. I think about the 2006 Grey Cup. They hadn't done a lot, but they ended up going spread empty. So they had AC. He's going to trigger, find a bubble, and get it real quick. So we had to make an adjustment, and we kind of adapted a quads match or a quarter coverage that puts the MAC back. So it ended up being pretty good for us. But I think the biggest kind of adjustment is you kicked our butt, Paul, in 2011 in the first half. Got a chunk play and an explosive play on 41 formation on the backside. So basically you had a big, lanky receiver all by himself, isolated. And at halftime, I had to adjust. And I said, I don't care what they do. We're not going to give up that play. And we made an adjustment to double that guy because you had exactly what you wanted in the first half. But no plays that weren't called. I just wish there were a lot more that I did call. But those were kind of situations that occurred that, like you said, it doesn't matter. All the cards on the table, there's no need to hide anything. And you have the whole year to try to recall and use whatever you have and get the players to try and put them in the best position possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you can pull back. Hey, we did this week 4. Remember this. Remember this stuff.
You don't want to
hold
it for the
time to put a lot of stuff in, but like you're hopefully pulling back with your smart player stuff.
But the good thing in our year, Paul, is 2011. We had Nickelback in the background, so you get a little bit more time in that Grey Cup. So Nickelback's playing in the background, and we got a little bit more time. So people might not like Nickelback. I kind of like them.
We couldn't get Richie Hall and I couldn't get in the 07 Grey Cup. It was Lenny Kravitz, and there was like 200 girls deep when we were trying to get to our locker room, and we're just pushing them out of the way, and they're all yelling at us, swearing at us. I'm like, we got to get to the locker room. Get out. I don't care about Lenny Kravitz, right?
Let me hit you guys with one more. I know we could probably sit here and do this for, well, days and days, but one of the last big things that you get to do after you win a Grey Cup, before you get your rings and all that, is, you know, you get to spend some time with the cup. You know, you get to bring it to events, you get to bring it to your family, you get to, you know, kind of do whatever you want with it, which is such a cool part about that trophy. What stands out, one moment each, for you guys, in terms of in the experiences you've had after winning the cup with the Grey Cup itself?
Go ahead, Bob.
First.
Oh, great! I'm sitting back here going to think of something.
I'll start.
I've got a couple.
Yeah.
You know, probably the biggest thing, because, you know, as soon as we won it, in Saskatchewan and both in Ottawa, like I said, my family was there, and we got a chance to take pictures with it, and so you've kind of done all that, and whether it's, you know, at my house here in Winnipeg or in the hotel after, it wasn't a big deal. But I remember in 2013, when I got the opportunity to have the Grey Cup here in Winnipeg, and, you know, I had it at my house, and so I allowed, you know, I knew friends who were Saskatchewan friends, and what it really showed to me is the effect that the Grey Cup it has on people when they see it. I never realized it. Like, you know, we fight every year to try and win this, and when you do, it's phenomenal. But now it's a month and a half later, and right, you haven't got your ring yet, but you've won it, and you're a little bit comfortable. And to see the effect that it has on the average person to see or touch the Grey Cup, you don't realize it. You know, people coming over who are lifelong Saskatchewan fans and giving them the opportunity to see it and hold the cup. We at about 11 o'clock, myself and the equipment manager from Saskatchewan, we went, my friend owns a restaurant here, and he had a bunch of buddies over there. It was UFC. And we said, oh, well, let's bring it over there. And we went over there. We actually had dinner at, Paul, you'll know this place, 529.
Yeah.
Steakhouse here in Winnipeg. And this is pretty much the nicest restaurant in the city. When they came and they saw, my wife had to drive it over, and they brought out a table for it specifically and put it out, and they had it behind, and just the people in there and them having an opportunity to see the Grey Cup and how they reacted. That's really the coolest thing that I think I've seen about having the Grey Cup after, is just, you don't realize, you know, it's such a huge part of Canadiana and how it affects people just to see it, have an opportunity to touch that trophy and how that trophy touches them. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Nice. Benny, what do you got about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't top that, because that's exactly the truth, what Bob's saying. I mean, people just, you can't imagine how much they love it, how much they are just over the top. I mean, in 2011, when we won, Travis Luley and I were members at the same parish. And so after church on a Sunday, we had it and we took pictures. And I swear we must have been there for 3 hours. People just coming through the school gym, just taking pictures and stories, and elderly and little kids, and just in awe of it. And I think that's the biggest effect, is just what it means to people to be able to take that picture, they be able to touch it. You know, so that's really the biggest effect, as Bob said. And that's that whole parish experience. I remember that with Travis. But I guess into my earlier years, in 2001, we had a big party in Calgary, and my wife and I kind of took it into the bedroom. So I was in the bedroom with us all night. Yeah, it was. And then in 2006, Ashley was just like 1 and a little bit, you know, and you see the pictures of the baby in the cup. And so we did that with her, and that was a big deal, kind of get it all propped up, and she got in the cup and took a picture. And, you know, so you get those special moments kind of deal where that's there. So it's definitely about the impact on people. But I remember taking pictures of my new firstborn daughter in there, and I remember just the effect of elderly, young, old, just loving getting close to it and touching it.
You know, I'll say a couple of things about that. Like, if you think about the Grey Cup, in 2007, you know, we had the opportunity to win. I had it for a day, and you know, we all get opportunities being in football, right? Or, like I can recall, I built a house in Regina, right? And then there were people who helped us with our flooring. And, there are just so many people who take care of you because you're a rider coach or whatever, right? They want to help. So I always wanted to make sure, like, all those people, the day I had the Grey Cup, right, there's these guys who did a great job of flooring at this new house we had. I brought it to them, right? And I told them beforehand, and I'll never forget this because it was the manager it was just an end of the roll in Regina, and they were good people. Well, the guy invited his mom and dad over, right? Like, so the parents, and they're 80 years old, and the father's taking the picture with the cup, and he's got the cup in front of his wife's face, right? Like, mom's in the way. Oh, no, don't worry about it. No, it's the cup, right? And then, like, our home builder, it was their Christmas party, and I said, I brought it over to her, to Janine's place, and just like you said, seeing the people love that environment. I remember that. I remember in this past year, the night before I had it, Bob was over my house. We had a Super Bowl party on the Sunday, and I had it for Super Bowl Sunday. And so people get to take pictures with it. We had about 50 people over that day and everything. Well, I got it the night before. So I picked it up, and on the way home, we have some really good friends of ours and our kids, huge Bomber fans. And I just kind of knocked on the door. They live right down the street, and I said, "Hey guys," and I said, "Shelly, what's going on?" I said, "Where's your husband?" She's like, "He's upstairs." I'm like, "Well, tell him to come out and help me with this thing." And then, like, I open the car, and he comes out. He's like, "This isn't what I think it is it? Right?" Same thing. He's yelling at his kids, "Boys, go get Bomber gear on right now!" Right? And then they invited the neighbor over, right? And then our other friends came over, and it was funny. Like, our friends said, "You got to get over here." And they thought something was wrong. They come running over. "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And like, "No, the cup's here." And they all got pictures with the cup, and they were still going to see it the next day. But just them having the time just kind of on their own with it, I thought was really pretty cool. I would say from this past Grey Cup season, that I was familiar with, obviously 29 years is a long time, and to be in that organization 3 different times, I think one of the things I'm proud of, and I'll steal Osh's line. Osh said it the best. It means so much when everything's on the line and your players perform at the best when their best is needed. And certainly that team did that, right? They, on all 3 phases, really did a great job dominating. I almost wasn't sure if our kids were going to come down. We weren't sure if the kids were going to come to the game. And then thank God we did, because they had the ability to be up on the podium, and as in Grey Cup lore, every time there's a Grey Cup, I'm sure you guys know it, the families can never get on the field in time, right? Some security guards like, no, well, I got to pass. And, but having them have that opportunity to be up on the stage, and my brother's up, that's pretty cool. And, probably my biggest one, and I'm sure, Bob will recognize this too, is sitting up there after a whole season, knowing you accomplished it, but then watching my man, Brad Foddy, who's been in the organization since he's a little boy, and he hasn't had a chance to raise the cup. So, I mean, that was one of my coolest things, to be able to be part of that team that helped Brad hold that cup up after 29 years, right? Working.
No doubt.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Gentlemen, that was absolutely outstanding. I mean, this in a nutshell is what makes this league so special. These stories, the fact that you guys have, crisscrossed each other throughout your coaching careers and can share some of those memories. Maybe one more time for everyone. Let's show and tell those rings again. See what you guys.
All right, here
got the bling.
There you go.
There we go.
Look at that. There's just nothing like it. Paul LaPolice, Mike Benevides, Bob Dyce, our multiple championship winning coaching crew here at the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Take care.